and to be okay with growing up to being productive, masculine men. And it's okay to be a father, and it's okay to do the things that have created countries and civilizations for as long as we've been on this planet. So as I talk to some of these young kids, there seems to be this fear of not being able to speak their mind, to have an opinion, to not offend, to not be okay just being who you are. And so several of the kids that I've spoken to, they've all kind of echoed the sentiment. And I dare you to just ask a 15, 16-year-old kid what it means to be a 15-year-old boy. Listen to their response. I've asked these questions. I've said, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? And I've gotten some pretty good responses. I've shared a few things that have happened. Most recently, the young man who contacted me at 19, I could see him when we were talking, when I was speaking to him and his friend at the ball game. I could see him, his face. He was just gobbling up every word that I was saying. And then he took the time to write me a note, and I've shared that note. The conference is something that I'm trying to do in January as a target date. I want to invite 15 to 20-year-olds, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds to attend the conference. I want this to be something to encourage young boys and to plant seeds into their minds about being okay. You know, we got the white privilege thing going on. We got the critical race theory going on. We've got the pronouns thing going on. We've got the guys that are girls in their minds wanting to, compete with girls in athletics. We got a lot of things that some of you older folks like myself, we didn't have to deal with any of this growing up. We were doing kickball and playing high school sports and, learning how to just be a teenager. Somehow the kids are thrust into this social justice kind of political correct, non-offensive, safe spaces, body shaming, all these different things that are all really just emotional train wrecks, in my opinion. And I don't think we need to raise boys to be emotional train wrecks, to be afraid to speak their mind. I just don't. So the conference is an idea that I've put together in my head. I've got a lot of things that are dependent on pulling this thing off. This isn't the first rodeo for me. I've done several conferences here. My good friend Nathan Grapes and we put on 3 really pretty good conferences. Most notably Professor John Walton, who came to town. Now that was more of a biblical expose on the languages and the. He was a professor of linguistics. He is. And that was something completely different than what I'm trying to do today. I'm not trying to introduce God to these 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. I'm not trying to get them to go one way or the other when it comes to the religious thing. I am not a religious person, trust me. I study the biblical story from a historical lens, and I try to equate what those people were talking about when they were writing the information and or when those books were put together. That's something completely different, and I'm not doing that at all. I remember watching the video of those boys, teenage boys, running off the boats of World War II at D-Day. I'm not a fan of sending our kids to war. I'm not. But you have to fight for freedom. There is a cost to being free. And I remember watching those kids run off those landing crafts, and I'm thinking, what if I was the 4th one in, and it was my turn to run off that boat and get gunned down? I'm watching everybody in front of me get shot, and yet they did. They ran off those boats, and they turned the tide of the war, and they stopped Hitler from controlling all of Europe. These are the kind of boys that saved Europe. I think about all the people who fought against racism, the slaves, and all of the folks in the Civil War who fought to end the slave trade, most of whom were white. and they were fighting. It was a horrible thing to happen, but the fight had to happen in order for the slave trade to end. And I'm one of these people today who I celebrate those people. I celebrate those people. I don't celebrate, what happened. I don't celebrate the horrors of slavery. I don't celebrate the horrors of World War II, World War I, or, Pol Pot over in Cambodia, or the Young Turks when they slaughtered the Armenians. I celebrate the people who fought to stop this tyranny. I live my life according to the people who fought. That's kind of where I'm at. That's why I don't couch anything I say in the color of my skin. I am a 100% true-blooded red American. I don't see it any other way. And so I grew up with a mother who wouldn't tolerate some of this. My mother, when it comes to critical race theory, when it comes to white privilege, my mother would lose her mind, God rest her soul, if she had to endure this stuff today. It's not who we are. It's a cultural shift being, in my opinion, perpetrated on our kids in order to destroy the country and to divide. I remember meeting a woman many years ago, 25 years ago. She kind of told me, I didn't know about the LGBT community. And I could care less what you do in your bedroom. I don't care. Just don't tell my grandson he has to be there. He has to be what you are. He doesn't have to be what you are. And he doesn't have to. Don't force my grandchildren to have to accept your way of life. Go live your life, but don't impose it on my family. She told me, I didn't know anything about the LGBT community, but she was speaking more of a political agenda, invading the National Education Association, putting their people in those places, in those positions. Personally, I think we should abolish the National Education Association. But she went on to say that, yeah, we're in your PTAs, we're in your school boards. We want to make sure that your kids are accepting of us when they reach the ages of 15, 16, 17, and 18. That was their agenda at the time. That was 25 years ago, and they'd been doing that for 25 years. So we're talking collectively for about 50 years, there has been a cultural shift to it's okay. I don't care what you guys do. Just don't tell me I have to accept it. And don't tell my grandkids that they have to accept it. We don't have to accept that. A 15, 16-year-old kid doesn't have to accept that. And I want young men to have the freedom to have that opinion, because I met a lot of them. I met one little kid who was afraid he had to be a gang member. He was afraid he had to be a gang member, black kid, because that was expected in the neighborhood that he lived in. This is crazy. So we're losing our freedoms and we're losing our identity. And we can't somewhere, at some point, we the older adults, we have to say to the young people, it's okay not to follow that if you choose not to follow that. It's okay for you not to accept that if you choose not to accept that. It's okay to say no to the things that you don't agree with. And I want young people to know that. So here's kind of the deal. I'm going to start this thing here. We're going to put a little bit of money aside to kind of do this thing. I've given myself through January to get businesses on board. If you want to donate and contribute, I'm not a nonprofit. I'll never be a nonprofit. I'm asking the people who matter and who don't like this and who want to make a difference, step up. We're going to do this conference somewhere in Tacoma. I have a couple of people that have already offered a site for me. The more money that I can take in to put this thing together and to pay out certain things that have to be paid, there's a list of things that have to happen. You have to have insurance. You have to have event insurance, have to pay certain people to do certain things. I'm looking for as many volunteers as possible. The venue depends on what kind of money we bring in. If we can bring in enough money from people giving, and I know it's tough times, guys. That's why I want to do this after the election. I want to see how that goes. But you can Zelle me to my account. Call me if you want to put some money in that account. Every dollar that comes my way to put this thing together will go into an account. I have a bookkeeper already set in place to manage that, so that all of those funds are accounted for and they're used for what they're going to be used for. I've never done a conference that made money. I'm not doing this for profit. Anyway, you can Venmo Jeff Morton. If you send anything through, make sure you put on there Boys to Men Conference. That's important because that's how we're going to track it. Okay. So it's running across my Venmo account, Zelle. You need my phone number. I'll be happy to give that to you if you send me an email. The email is jsmorton@protonmail.com. I do have a couple of people that I have in mind to hold me accountable for what we're trying to do here. And I'm looking for anyone, anywhere who is willing to help. I'm going to do this. This is something that I just think we need to be more involved than the school board, than the school system. We need to be more involved in the lives of our youth than what's happening in the school systems here in Washington State. Some of the stuff that's happened and is now legal in the state of Washington defies every sensibility that I have when it comes to our children and our grandkids. Anyway, the next thing you're going to see scrolling along the bottom is what I need from you to get this thing going. Okay. For the personal donations, 50 to 250, that's great. Send it through Boys to Men, however you can do that. And I know it's tough times, folks. That's why I'm doing this in January. I don't want you to pony up money right now. You guys back to school stuff. You got the holidays coming up. But if we can pull this thing off in January, that would be fantastic. For the businesses, I'm looking for your sponsorship starts at $500 and goes up to $5,000. There's a lot of money out there. So when it comes to businesses, so if you guys want to help put this together, if I can put 250 to 300 kids, young men, into a room or more, it's going to be dependent on what you're willing to do to help me do this. The first person who sends me a $5,000 donation, the first business that sends a $5,000 donation, they will be the lead sponsor. The very first company that sends me $5,000 will be the lead sponsor. That is written in stone. So anyway, Boys to Men. Let's teach our young boys it's okay to be white. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be American. It's okay to be an Asian kid. It's okay to be a Mexican kid. It's okay to grow up to be who you are, not what the culture is telling you have to be. That's the heart and soul of the conference. I go live on another note. I go live today. We're going to talk about frequency stuff. You know, folks, we are so trained pharmaceutically to take a pill and to deal with the side effects. What if there's alternatives? We're going to talk about that today, later on today, and let's talk about it. My guest is going to be Elizabeth Smatlack. We're going to do a follow-up with a person named Dawn. She's down in North Carolina. She actually has a business, and she's a professional, certified professional. And we're going to talk about how frequency healing is probably the way of the future. It's mind-blowing. And folks, don't be afraid to look at alternative stuff. You would be shocked at the testimonies I'm hearing about these patches that amplify your natural light. It's just, God is amazing. And I think we need to get away from the synthesized medicines and the managed care. Of course, I can't promote any of the stuff that's healing you or fixing your life. I can't do that because, quite frankly, the pharmaceutical industry made sure we couldn't do that. On the other hand, I don't know, it might not work for you at all. But that's the other topic that we're going to be talking about today. So I hope you stay tuned. I'm also getting ready to put this on Spotify, on Apple Play. We're going to do the audio version of this. And this takes money. I got this trip to Israel is taking every little bit of extra money we have. So I can't do everything the way I want to do it right now. And I want to do it right now. But those are the things that I'm working on. Okay. And these are the things that I need your help with. If you want to help me do this conference, you got to step up to the plate. That's basically what you got to do. You got to step up to the plate. And I just appreciate all of those who I've gotten such an enthusiastic response from a lot of people. Now it's time for the money to come in. I can make you this absolute promise. All the money that comes in, I'm going to set up in an account, in a bank account, and I won't touch it for any other reason than to pay for the things that are going to be necessary to pull this conference off. It will not go into my pocket. I give you my word on that. That's not who I am. Okay? Anyway, this is Jeff. Let's talk about it, and we'll see you later on today. Thanks. Bye-bye.